Hola, hola, hola. Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Listen, Read, Interact. Welcome to another episode of Listen, Read, Interact. My name is Andrew Snyder. I'm the host of the Listen, Read, Interact podcast. This is episode number 69. 69. Listen, Read, Interact is a Spanish language learning podcast. It's designed for people who are trying to get lots of comprehensible input. If you are a language teacher, it's great for you as well because not only do I have this show with audio, there are also a bunch of readings that accompany this episode and each and every episode, and activities that are interactive. So it's perfect for a language learner and it's perfect for a language teacher. You may have noticed in the feed recently, there came an episode called CI Immersion Number 1, and that is my teacher-facing podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts, specifically on Apple and Spotify, Podcasting 2.0, etc. There is an RSS feed that you can get at and get it from anywhere you can consume an RSS feed. Now, CI Immersion is my complete system for teaching languages that I've developed over the 15, 16, 17, I don't know, however many years I've been teaching Spanish. And it works for every language. And on that show, I'm going to detail very specifically the entire system. So if you're interested in that, it will appear in this feed occasionally. And it will also occasionally publish on its own feed. So if you're more interested in that, check out CI Immersion. CI Immersion on your podcast feed. I should get that on YouTube. I think I'll get it on YouTube too. I'll put it there as well. Hey, so Listen, Read, Interact, which is this show, is a Spanish language learning podcast, as I mentioned, and each episode is a self-contained lesson. And so in this episode and every episode, which come out every Saturday, you will find a pre-reading section and some interactive activities on the show notes page, which you can find at listenreadinteract.com/69, since this is episode number 69, and you'll also find a link down in the episode description. So there's a pre-reading section with some interactives there. There is a brief reading section. That's part 2 of the show. And that brief reading takes the vocabulary that we kind of targeted in that pre-reading phase, and it starts to put it into context for you. Then our final section of the show is part 3, and part 3 is a complete reading. Now, today's episode, number 69, listenreadinteract.com/69, you will find is part 1 of a 3-part series. So there is a short story that will cover 3 episodes, and it's a little bit longer, and so I've split it up into 3 different parts. So 69, 70, and 71 will all go together in their own little world, and that'll be wonderful. So that's something to look at and be on the lookout for. I would read along. If I were a learner and I were in your shoes, I would read along as the story is being told on the podcast. I would read along with the sentences, or perhaps do something like a dictation. Maybe I'd try to write down a sentence exactly as I heard it and then check my work on the show notes page. You can do this however you'd like. That's a great way to do it, as a dictation. So in the first part, you'll hear some example sentences. Try to write down those sentences as they sound to you, and then check your work on the show notes page. That's a wonderful activity. Part 2, obviously, I would read along and complete the comprehension questions just to kind of make sure that I understood what was going on. And if I were in your shoes and I was doing part 3, I would read along. Because not only do you hear the words, but you'll see them on the page. You'll kind of put 2 and 2 together, what words sound like, how to pronounce Spanish as you read along. So that's a very important piece, is listening and interacting, reading and interacting. And that's something you should do over and over and over again. I probably would recommend for true beginners not to start with today's episode. If you're a true beginner in Spanish, I would start with episode number 50. And in fact, episodes 50 through 55 are all part of a course that I've collected, a free course. And you don't even have to log in or anything, but you can go to listenreadinteract.com/start, and you'll find the Start Here course. And that's what I would recommend. listenreadinteract.com/start. Bueno. When you hear the music, the show will start in Spanish. You'll hear the example sentences. You'll hear a bell between sections. So when you get to part 2, there will be a bell, just kind of letting you know, hey, we've moved on to part 2. And that's the short reading, the brief reading, and interaction. And when you hear another bell, we'll have a brief intermission, and then we'll come back for the final version of the story, the complete reading, which is really our goal for this episode. Get you to be able to listen to and read and comprehend a longer version of a story, just some Spanish in context. It's a wonderful way to learn language. It's a wonderful way to pick up the language. Okay, here we go. Vamos adelante. Ejemplos. Número 1. Yo vivo en la capital de Nicaragua. Yo vivo en la capital de Nicaragua. Yo vivo en la capital de Nicaragua. 2. Estás feliz, pero sientes que te falta algo. Estás feliz, pero sientes que te falta algo. Estás feliz, pero sientes que te falta algo. 3. Usted llama a la puerta de la casa. Usted llama a la puerta de la casa. Usted llama a la puerta de la casa. 4. Él me da una carta. Él me da una carta. Él me da una carta. 5. En el sobre encuentro una carta y un boleto de avión. En el sobre encuentro una carta y un boleto de avión. En el sobre encuentro una carta y un boleto de avión. 6. La carta habla de mi familia. La carta habla de mi familia. La carta habla de mi familia. 7. Nosotros decidimos viajar a Costa Rica. Nosotros decidimos viajar a Costa Rica. Otra vez. Nosotros decidimos viajar a Costa Rica. Nosotros decidimos viajar a Costa Rica. 8. Al día siguiente me levanto temprano y salgo de mi casa. Al día siguiente me levanto temprano y salgo de mi casa. Al día siguiente me levanto temprano y salgo de mi casa. Lectura breve. Mi nombre es Esperanza. Vivo en la capital de Nicaragua. Soy una joven y, por lo general, soy feliz. Tengo amigos y tengo lo que necesito, pero muchas veces tengo la sensación de que me falta algo. Una tarde estoy en mi casa y alguien llama a la puerta. Voy a la puerta y la abro. Un hombre está en el porche. Me da una carta y se va. Abro el sobre y encuentro una carta y un boleto de avión a Costa Rica. El vuelo sale mañana por la mañana. Leo la carta muchas veces. Habla de mi familia y de información importante. No sé qué pensar y no sé si puedo confiar en este Lázaro, la persona que escribe la carta, pero quiero saber más. Al día siguiente me levanto temprano. Me baño, me preparo un café y hago la maleta. Tengo prisa porque el avión sale pronto. Por fin salgo apresurada de la casa. Just a brief intermission. I hope you've been enjoying this episode. And I hope you enjoy every episode, really. This one's called El Café Portento, Parte 1. Interesante. I try to make every episode as engaging as I can for learners. And for me and for my money as an instructor, there's nothing better for learners than hearing engaging stories, than listening to them, reading them, interacting with them in some way. And that's my goal for every episode, is to provide you something that's worth listening to, that's entertaining, that's engaging, sometimes funny, sometimes absurd, sometimes just interesting to hear. And really that's the point, is to provide as much material for you to consume as possible, because the more you listen to Spanish, the more you'll pick up over time, especially if it's like just a little bit beyond where you're at. That's really the key. I like to talk about magnets a lot when I talk about this, and how if you have two magnets that are next to each other, you can kind of pull the other magnet along if you move it slightly. If they're aligned the proper way, they'll start to pull the other one along. But if you get too far ahead with that magnet, then that force is too weak between the magnets, and the friction on the table is too strong to overcome. And so I think it's really important for you to find materials that are your level. And I really try to provide those materials to my students in my classroom, and you're getting kind of the result of that. These stories are all, or most of them, are stories that are my interpretations of stories that I've made with learners. So like we'll tell a story based on some vocabulary, and I won't know exactly where it's going, and I'll have some details that the students have provided me, and I will then synthesize that into my interpretation. Mine is obviously going to be more complex, more complete, And that's on purpose. It's designed that way because I want learners to be pulled along, just we talked about those magnets. I want them to be pulled along in their journey. And so they're a little bit more complicated than what we come up with in class. They obviously have my twists on them. Sometimes they don't have an ending, and I come up with an ending that's nice. We have some information maybe from the classroom, so it's like, hey, this person is tall or this person is smart. But then how does that get synthesized into a text? Well, this is my interpretation of that, and I've gotten pretty good at it, I think, over the years. So that is what this show is, and I'm hoping that it provides value to you. If you are finding value in this show, I will tell you that I don't take any advertising money, and so the only way that this show can keep going is if you support it. We're 100% listener supported, and it takes a lot of time to write this material and to record it, and I've crammed it into my already very busy schedule, and I've committed to 100 episodes. So you'll get 100 episodes from me, and I would like to keep that going. But the only way that will work is if you support the show. So if we get enough support, we're going to keep going past the 100 episode mark, the century mark, as it were, el siglo. And from there, we'll just kind of evaluate where we're at, see if it's something that people really want and want to have stay around. So please support the show. You can do so in many ways. One great way is by sharing the show. I just sent out a newsletter in which I explained how much I dislike sending out newsletters and writing newsletters. And so I'm not going to do it very much anymore. I know that it's probably not the best business practice or whatever, but I don't care. I don't want to do it. You probably don't want to read it. I know there's the only way to get it out there is by word of mouth. And so if you would share the show, that's a huge help. Let people know about it. Share it with your networks. Post it on a forum somewhere. I'm not getting on Reddit. So if you want to get on Reddit, hey, you can go ahead. I got Reddit blocked at my house because I'm spending too much time there. Same with a bunch of other websites. Just block, so I can get some stuff done, Oh, what else can I tell you? Another way to help out the show, obviously, is to ask a question. Send me a question. Do you have a question about language acquisition? Do you have a question about Spanish? Do you have some topic you want me to cover? You're going to start to see some grammar episodes pop up in the feed. Some more culture episodes pop up, and these CI immersion episodes, which are the language teaching episodes. You can send me a question at andrew@readtospeak.com. Andrew@readtospeak.com. That's my name. Read to Speak, all one word. READTOSPEAK. Readtospeak.com. Andrew@readtospeak.com. Obviously, you can support the show financially, and that is very much appreciated. Thank you to everyone who has done that in the past, and thank you to everyone who's considering do that. Please make a donation at you can do that at listenreadinteract.com/donate. Listenreadinteract.com/donate. One more time, that's listenreadinteract.com/donate. I heard you have to repeat things 3 times, and then people will hear it better or something. I heard that. I don't know if it's true. But anyway, listenreadinteract.com/donate. There's a link also in the episode description, which will take you right there to listenreadinteract.com/donate. You can donate any amount, any frequency. It's all appreciated. Those $4 weekly sustaining donations are wonderful. You can consider emptying out your PayPal. You got some extra money in there that's been sitting there forever, and whatever, it's just been sitting there. That's super, super generous of you, and it's so appreciated. I thank you so much. To everyone who has donated, people who donate $50 and above will get your name mentioned on the show, name, amount, location, and if you have a short note for me, I'll read that as well. If you donate below $50, you'll be kept anonymous for reasons of anonymity, for which there are many, I'm sure. I've donated to stuff in the past, and I've donated less than $50 because I didn't want to have my name attached to that for whatever reason, for many reasons. Okay, that is that. Let's get back to the show. listenreadinteract.com/donate. Lectura completa. En la capital nicaragüense vive una joven. Su nombre es Esperanza. Es alta, bonita y muy inteligente. Por lo general, Esperanza es feliz. Tiene muchos amigos y tiene tanto dinero como necesita. Pero muchas veces tiene la sensación de que le falta algo. Una tarde, Esperanza está en su casa. Está doblando la ropa cuando alguien llama a la puerta. Esperanza va a la puerta y la abre. Un hombre está en el porche. Es tan alto como Esperanza. ¿Es usted Esperanza Alba?, le pregunta el hombre. Sí, dice Esperanza. Soy yo. Esto es para usted, le dice el hombre. Con esto, el hombre le da una carta a Esperanza y se va. La joven abre el sobre y encuentra una carta y un boleto de avión a San José, Costa Rica. El vuelo sale mañana por la mañana. Intrigada, Esperanza toma la carta y la lee con atención. La carta dice así: Esperanza, tengo información sobre su familia que le va a cambiar la vida. Si quiere saber más, use el boleto de avión que incluyo con esta carta. Usted va a encontrarme en el Café Portento, en el centro de San José. Lázaro. Esperanza no sabe qué pensar. ¿Quién es este Lázaro? ¿Puede confiar en él? Muy intrigada, la joven lee la carta al menos 20 veces más. Finalmente, ella decide que quiere saber más. Entonces se cepilla los dientes y se acuesta temprano. No es nada fácil, pero por fin se duerme. Al día siguiente, Esperanza se despierta a las 6 de la mañana. Se levanta y se baña. Tiene mucha prisa porque el avión sale a las 11 de la mañana. Luego la joven se viste, se prepara un cafecito y hace la maleta. Por último, Esperanza sale apresurada de la casa. Bueno, terminamos con el día de hoy. We finished today's episode, and I just want to say thanks again for listening. Muchas gracias por escuchar. Thanks again for listening. If you're enjoying the show, please consider sending value back this way. listenreadinteract.com/donate. New episodes come out every Saturday. Muchísimas gracias y hasta la próxima.